Hello everyone, how are you all today? I hope you're good. Welcome to yet another Scorchio day in the kitchen garden. Oh, it's been magnificent today. Haven't been doing much of anything in the garden, just hanging here today because it's right at the beginning of July. Yay! I love this time of year. So I thought I'd just catch up with you guys and give you a little walk around the garden today at the beginning of July to show you where we're at, which is not where we've been at in previous years. It's all a little bit slow still. It's just because of this relentless heat and zero rain. Absolutely no rain for 5.5 weeks now. Apparently we're due some this afternoon. I'll see it when I believe it. No, the other way around. I'll believe it when I see it. Yeah, too much sun to the head already today. So come on, let me show you how the garden is looking at the beginning of this very hot July. We do have today the teensiest bit of a breeze, which is absolutely gorgeous. It's so muggy and humid today, which maybe that means we are going to get some rain. I don't know, it feels like we need an absolute humdinger of a storm. I wouldn't mind being pinned down in the shed again this afternoon with a humdinger of a storm. That'd be great. But never mind. Whilst it's not storming, I shall just sit out in the garden and enjoy it. And here we are at the top of the garden as always, and look, as they are every year, almost fit to burst, just in time for my birthday. Absolutely masses and masses of buds on it this year. This is the lovely tree lily, and I don't do anything with it apart from I let it die back, and then in the middle of winter at some point I kind of cut the dead bits of stems off and just leave it, and it comes back year after year, and it's gorgeous. Oh, I can't wait for it to open. And each year it pots up some new stems from ways down here. So now I think I counted about 7 or 8 stems, and I started with 2 or 3. So yeah, that's going great guns, and oops, just dropping my glasses, looking beautiful, as is the little self-seeded cornflower tucked in there. Excuse me. Do you remember, actually let's go around this side. These are my measly cosmos, which I would normally expect to be pretty much filling this top bit of the bed in by now, but oh dear, they were the 2 from my first sowings, and all these little ones from my second sowings. They're not doing much. A couple of buds to come, but I'm hoping that, they're happy until a frost completely does for them. So I have actually managed by deadheading to keep them going right through to Christmas. So, maybe they're going to be more of an autumn display this year rather than a summer. So yeah, flowers doing their own thing. More importantly, how's the veg doing? So you can see some of my onions are starting to flop over. So they're telling me that they're almost ready. So once the tops are flopped over like this, I generally leave them for a couple more weeks before I lift them and then finish drying them in the shed. So I reckon by the end of July these will be lifted, and in their place will go some of the brassicas, more of which in a moment when we get down to the cold frame. So the leeks in there are still sort of happy, but my goodness, what a palaver with carrots this year. Can you see there are the odd 1 or 2 here and there, but normally I would expect this to be an absolute bush of carrots by now. So I did do a 4th sowing, and you never know, they were autumn king, so they can be sown at this time of year. You never know, I might get a late surprise, but This is one of those beds this year that I've now reconciled to the fact that, well, it's probably not going to come to much. But there are a few in there. They're precious. I will enjoy them. The red onions, well, they're doing okay. I think they're going to be a bit smaller this year than I've had in previous years. But again, I think that so much has been to do with our weird, wacky weather this year. But the ones that are there, they look perfectly healthy, perfectly happy. I've had a couple away already because my supply from last year ran out a few weeks ago. And yeah, they're gorgeous. So with the whites, they'll probably come out in about 3 or 4 weeks. And that will be space for more brassicas. Yay! Out comes the summer garden, in goes the winter. And look, happy days. Look how the flint corn is finally getting away. It's lovely to see a lush burst of green in the garden like this year because everything else is struggling so much. So I'm chuffed with that, and I hope it will do as well as last year. Get up to sort of 6-7 feet high. Oh, blah, nearly fell in another bed. Yeah, get up to 6-7 feet high. Hopefully a couple of cobs from each plant, minimum. I will be very, very happy if it's anywhere near half as good as last year. Such great plants, aren't they? You know, I was chatting about watering the other day, and you can see how they create a lot of shade down there because they're pretty densely covering it, and there was a load of mulch under there, but even under there it's getting so dry. And the problem, as you'll see as we go around the garden with mulching, normally I would be using buckets and buckets and buckets of grass clippings, but just so you can see, look at our paths, they're bone dry and the grass simply isn't growing. So I'm not mowing, so there are no grass clippings for mulch, so I'm having to think about and use other things. This little mixed bed, well, I have got some celery after all, thank goodness for some seedlings from a friend. Oh my giddy goodness, but I would normally have half a bed of celery. I don't, but what I do have, I think they're looking pretty good. So thank goodness for a few. Just behind them, a couple of random tomatoes. You'll see a bit of a theme as we go around the garden today, that there's a lot of random stuff chucked in. So where I had gaps, I just thought, you know what the heck, chuck something in, because if nothing else, this is going to shade the ground a little bit. If they don't come to fruition in terms of giving me fruits, well, I've made some compost, haven't I? So yeah, lots of randomness. The Celeriac are looking and doing okay. You see they're just starting to form their little bulbs. Oh, gorgeous. But this is one of those long-term prospects. This is a winter veg, so I don't expect anything overnight, and I'm happy to just let them slowly grow all through the year, and then I can start noshing them come about November or so. And again, more randomness. This is some Paprika Peppers. The peppers were one of the big sort of disasters this year in terms of I had beautiful plants that I got going at home, and then after they came down to the garden and were hardened off and put out, they just all, well, they were not happy at all. But these seem to have perked up a little bit, and now I've got some flowers, so I'm hoping I will, after all, get some paprika peppers. But you can just see how utterly dry we are. Look at this grass path. You know what though, I was looking at the paths the other day and I was thinking, isn't grass an amazing plant? Because to all intents and purposes, this looks dead as a dodo, doesn't it? But I know with a few days of rain, it'll bounce back to life. And considering we walk on it all the time, amazing. Thank you, grass, for being so fantastic. So, the assorted tomato bed. Now, again, we can see how things are stunted this year, because normally by now I would be expecting to have the tomatoes up to here and have them with great big teepees in for them to be lashed to, but they're not doing much upward growing. However, they are producing fruits and producing lots of flowers. So these are, I can't remember the name, I have to look in my book, but these are obviously a cherry. Then next to it, this is some sort of plum. What is it? Oh no, it's the Borough Giant. Ah, that's not what I was expecting. I wonder if I've got my labels mixed up. Not sure, but then along here, for instance, like I said, I'm going to have such a mixed bag this year. Look at these big Berthas. Aren't they gorgeous? Oh, and just coming back here, some more big Berthas in here. Yay! So, yeah, mega mixed bag. These, I'm sure, are a type of plum. If not, well, they don't half look like plums, don't they? If it looks like a plum, tomato that is, and it tastes like a plum tomato, we'll call it a plum tomato. And again, all the ones over there, everything is now either fruiting or it's got masses of flower trusses on. So they are coming. So I am going to have tomatoes. Yippee! So if you remember all the tomatoes, this is a bit of a mixed bag of donated plants from 4 different friends. Can you see in there? Oh, lovely. Plus, I decided to give all of my own a chance after all, and some of them are actually, they're growing. They're starting to put out trusses. There are some of them. So yeah, and I think it's one of those years where, you know, these ones here, some of my Garden's Delight, look, if they don't come to anything, well, it's not the end of the world, is it? I'll just have to buy a tin of tomatoes at some point. I'd rather not, but I will if I have to. Another lovely bunch of fruit coming on there. Oh, it's only going to be a couple of weeks, I reckon, before I start harvesting my first ripe ones. I'm so looking forward to my first fresh tomato after months and months and months of bottled tomatoes. Yay, bring it on. So then next to them, we've got the horizontal squash. So I've got a row of 4 butternuts here and 4 more here. And then in the middle, I've got 3 rouge vif de tombe, which is that beautiful big orange, sort of slightly squashed Cinderella type pumpkin. And some of them are finally starting to get away. I've got a feeling, I think with the whole garden this year, I think give us, 2 or 3 nights of some really good rain, and I think everything's just going to start romping away. But when you consider just how hot and dry it's been, I think the fact that anything's growing at all is fabulous. Yay! Oh, I'm excited to have fresh squash as well. Oh my goodness. Yeah, so actually, it's not too bad, is it? Yeah, I'm happy with that for now. This little section has been really tricky. So in the front, I've got the peppers. They've sort of perked up, but they are struggling. And then it's mostly cukes on the frame. Just in the end, I had a couple of spare baby butternuts, and they seem, now they're getting away really well here, but as you'll see in the next bed over, they don't really want to do anything. So I'm really glad I put those there. Again, a random tomato, there's random tomatoes everywhere. And something else I did, I don't know if you saw the video a couple of weeks ago, I actually sowed, can you see there and there's another one under there and a little further along. I got so fed up with how scrawny the cukes were looking, I thought I'll stuff it. So I sowed a load more, and they're actually looking okay, those. So again, I think a decent bit of rain, and I think they will suddenly start to catch up and possibly even overtake. But look, my first little fruits are forming. So hopefully that will be big enough in a couple of weeks' time when I get my first fresh tomato. Whoa! And I can have a tomato, cucumber and red onion salad. Super simple, super easy, but super gorgeous when it's just straight out of the garden. Oh, I just saw another cucumber there. Yay! Oh my goodness, I can't wait. I'm so happy this year at the sight of literally any veg forming, because it's been hard fought for. Now, yes, the bean corridor didn't quite work. These on the left are bolotti. Now, I obviously save all my own seed, but I also save it for eating. And I was chomping away through the winter on my lovely bolotti, and I suddenly thought, oh, I'm getting a bit low. I need to hold some aside for seed saving. And then I got really low, so I actually went out and bought a load of dried bolotti from the health food shop near me for eating. And I think I might have got the two mixed up, and I think these may have come from what I'd bought for eating, because I think they want to be bushes. And what I've grown for the last 2 years are definitely a climbing variety, but these, as you can see, they're definitely not climbing. Oh well, I think I do still like the idea of my bean arches, so I think I may try again next year and hope we have a slightly better year with our beans. See, they're really, really tardy to get going. Really slow. This is just some Scarlet Emperor runners, and then that might have been a spare gigantes. And then I've got some Helder and some Neko down here, but with a lot of them that only just getting to the tops of the arch now. I would have expected this 3-4 weeks ago, but you never know, they may all have a bit of a late spurt. I think it's one of those things. I think maybe this year we're just going to be having our harvests a bit later, but hopefully still having our harvests. And this bed, well, I'm pleased with some bits and a bit disappointed with others. But yeah, it's starting to work and fill out. Actually, do you know what? I'm going to bring you to the other end and we'll walk up from the other end. Excuse me a sec. Oh, sneaky preview, sneaky preview, sneaky preview, sneaky preview, sneaky preview. So, here's how it's starting to look. Okay, so right down here at the front, on either side, I've got my coco de pampol. They're looking fine. And behind them, more random, that's the rose de Berne, random tomatoes. Don't know if they'll come to anything, but there was space, so I thought pop them in. Now, what I am delighted with is all the beds, all the underplantings have worked really, really well here. So I've got beetroot, lettuce, spinach, rocket, chard and lentils, and that's all worked great. These first two beds, the wee little squash that are in there, they just don't seem to want to get going. So that's a honey boat, which is one of the delicatas, and then on this side it's the baby butternut. So compared to the one I just showed you on the cucumber frame, don't know, they might do something, not to worry. And then look, just a few little sweet peas for each teepee as well. Just a wee little bit of colour, and same over here. But what I love with all the underplantings is there's a lot of green in there, obviously, but there's also bits of red from the lettuce leaves, there's little bits of red from the beetroot, and likewise with the chard. So it's just little bits of colour here and there, and they're sown really, really, really packed in. But what I do is I either do a bit of a thinning, or I'm just taking leaves from here and there, and it seems to have worked really, really well. It's kept all the weeds down, it keeps the soil underneath, it seems to stay moist longer because it's so covered. And then if you remember also, on either side of the middle path I've got these rows of calendula that go all the way up. So yeah, again, a bit more colour to come hopefully. hopefully it's going to look really pretty in about another month after some rain. That's what we're all saying. But yeah, look, this is the Gala. You can see how these ones now really are starting to get away. That's great. This one has a very obvious sort of lead stem, which I'm training. The Carnival over here, it's gone massive, and it's really not obvious where its lead stem is. It's more of a bush, a sort of a mound, than anything I can train, but that's okay, we live and learn. And then just in the front, this got completely scratched up by the cats. All the seed was whacked about, so I've just popped in a couple of spare squash. Again, just give them a chance, they might do something. But it is lovely to finally be seeing so much green in the garden. Well, we could do with a bit more green, but in here at least there's green, and then little bits of colour from the sweet peas. Oh, isn't this lovely? This is the Violina. I just love the foliage on this one, with that bit of veining. Gorgeous. Sweet peas again, being really pretty. And then this one is underplanted with the lentils. So I've never grown them before. I haven't seen pictures of them growing. So it's a complete experiment. We're learning about this together. It may be a complete disaster, I don't know. But they seem to be happy enough at the moment. I don't know how much more growing they have to do, or how much longer that growing will take before they start to produce flowers for the bees to get at, to then form the pod that's going to contain the lentil. But like I say, we will discover that together. I think this is one of my favourite beds, especially with the little sweet peas. Gorgeous. And then finally this one. Again, it's a bit weird with the squash. This one is doing really well. It's all the way up to here. The one behind is about half that. The one at the front is still down there. There's no rhyme, no reason to it, but as and when they're growing, they're getting tied in. I can see they're all producing flowers now. Quite a lot of them have got the female flowers on. So hopefully there will be a harvest. And again, it's underplanted with tons of chard, really closely packed in. I just take a leaf here, a leaf there, a leaf everywhere whenever I'm down to water in the evening. Take a few leaves home for breakfast, lunch, whatever the next day. And by doing so, it sort of thins the bed, but keeps a lot of the ground covered at the same time. So again, that moisture is being kept. After a watering session, it doesn't dry out too quickly, which is great. And then finally, or not quite finally, I keep forgetting I've got an extra bed this year as well by way of the herb bed. Oh, the light is so beautiful, isn't it? Absolutely gorgeous. Oh, just before I go and show you bed number 4, that's the cold frame is absolutely chock full now of my brassica prickings. There's about 150 plants in there altogether. Ignore that tray. There were some leftovers I was going to offer to one of our newbie neighbours, but I just haven't seen them, so they're sort of wilting and dying. But yeah, there's about 160 plants in there, so I should, yay, have green stuff over the winter, and they can basically all start going out when, for example, the onions come out. We'll put a load of green stuff in. Whoop whoop. Oh, I'm so pleased and so relieved. Oh my goodness. It only took 3 sowings to get that. Yay. Spuds. Well, it's time to have the first of the new potatoes out. Oh, I think I might do a batch this afternoon. Yeah, well remembered, Vivi. But yeah, nothing really much to say about them. They just do their own thing, don't they? I have actually watered a few times. You know, I know a lot of people don't water their potatoes at all. But if you think about it, it's still a growing plant, isn't it? You want your tubers to put on a bit of weight. So they have had a couple of waterings, and hopefully that's been enough to you know, give them just enough to keep going and keep growing. The fennel, again, I'd expect it to be bigger by this time of year, but it's growing. It's definitely growing. And then a succession of sowing, they're growing just really, really slowly. And then I've got another odds and sods section where this is where I planted the Calypso, and I had, I think, 2 come up. So I put in a few Rocking Core, which is the variety behind, and some of them came up. I've also plugged, I had a spare couple of Coco de Pampol. So from now on, I think we'll just refer to this bed as the bush bean bed. Rocking Core behind, doing absolutely fab. One thing I haven't pointed out, let me just come back around this way. So this is a first for me. I've got black fly, yuck. So this is the other bean arch, and this one is doing better. On the left is all the Gigantes, which are really, really romping away now. On the right are the very, very stilted Soissons. Oh, I wish they would all do something. The Gigantes, oh look, isn't that a gorgeous flower? So pretty, so pretty. But yeah, for the first time ever, I've got black fly in my climbing beans. I've just noticed it today, so I'm going to have to come up with some ideas of a potion for spraying at them to get rid of them. The usual is the soapy water. So yeah, that needs dealing with pronto. Yeah, so I'm hoping this little bean corridor might actually become green. That'd be nice, wouldn't it? Brill, yay! Anyway, back to where I was. Oh, my mind's all over the place today. And then the chickpea bed. Again, really, really intermittent germination. So again, random plugins. I've got some more borlotti here and here. And the absolute dregs of the tomatoes. But my thinking is this. I'd rather try and get the ground a bit covered, and even if things don't come to fruition, well, I can chop things up and have them as compost. Having resown the parsnips as well, I was given some spare seed. Thank you so much, Paul and Richard. And I'm just coming this down to show you because just about here you can see. Yay! I have parsnips coming up. Woo! See? Way! And excuse me, tickle. I've just put. I'm supposed to have 3 rows. 1, 2, 3. But I only had 2 lots of the shade netting, and the reason I put that over them was because I need to keep these beds watered because they're seed beds. You know, there's no root or very little root on these teeny plants to get down to find water. But what I found was pretty much as soon as I'd done watering, you know, within a couple of hours in this baking heat, it's okay at nighttime watering, but as soon as the sun comes up the next morning, it's just evaporating. So I've popped these shade nets on, and it seems to help just to kind of sort of slow down that process of all the water evaporating. So I finally feel a little bit more hopeful again about the possibility of having some parsnips, and all the lovely calendula are finally starting to come out. So it won't be long before I'm harvesting calendula every day again and setting it to dry in the shed before taking it home to start making all my next batches of calendula oil and balm. Yay! Oh, I'm chuffed. The wee herb bed over here. Again, things are growing a little bit, but not a huge amount. I'm not concerned because eventually these plants will be big plants. They will fill out, and I'm just going to let them do their own thing in their own time. Excuse the bricks there. I was just measuring to see for my little path down the middle, would I need 2 or 3 bricks? How is it going to work out? So yeah, I'm going to have a little play with that at some point when it's not quite so roasty toasty hot, because this weather is made for just sitting doing nothing. Look at the feverfew flowers, they're so pretty. I love it. There are finally little pops of colour here and there in the garden. Yay! Okay, now, vine bed corner, not great. The acacia I started at home, they got pretty much mashed. But then this one, I direct sowed in a desperate attempt, and it seems to be getting going. So I thought, ooh, right, maybe just direct sow in future. The vine, showing no signs of life. And the poor loofah, oh my goodness, they've just been eaten and eaten and eaten. Oh, will that one survive? I just don't think they're going to do anything now. What a pity. However, I do have more seed. I'm not going to give up. I will try again next year and maybe just try in a different part of the garden. And so again, like in so many other parts, I've just bunged in 2 spare, I can't even remember what type of squash they are now. I grow so many different types, but if they want to grow, they'll grow. Brilliant. If they don't want to grow, well, what was I going to do with them anyway? So they might as well stay there. Yeah, that is such a happy sight. Oh, happy, happy, happy sight. They all look pretty healthy and happy. You know, I think the debris netting over the top of the cold frame really worked a treat to just keep them a bit cool. So yeah, I would say it's a bit of a mixed bag. I think the garden is looking okay. It looks like a garden that needs rain. I think that's the bottom line. It is a little kitchen garden that needs rain, and I'm sure as soon as we get some rain, things will take off. I like the way that bed number 3, my little vegetable cathedral bed, I like the way that's turning out. So I'm probably going to do something like that again next year. But it's a tough year to try and learn lessons this year, because I think it's just not been a normal year. So if you're in that same boat where, if it's your first year as well, especially, and things haven't worked, please don't assume they're not going to work ever, ever, ever. Just make the assumption that it's an odd year and that trying again, things may well work. And now you can see what I've been mostly doing today. Brought my radio down. I've had to turn it off for now for copyright reasons, but I've just been sitting in my deck chair listening to the tennis, and it's been absolutely fab. And isn't that what gardens are for? My little corner here is coming along as well. But yeah, just have a little sit down. In fact, let's have a sit there now. Oh, it's so comfy. The only thing is, when I sit here, it'll be a little while before I get up again now. Oh, it's so nice. So, there we have it, the garden in July. Like I say, it seems really behind in some ways. But I think, considering how sticky this year's been so far, I'm really happy. I'm just happy that I'm happy that it's here. I'm happy that this is my view from my deck chair. You know, you can't really complain at that, can you? So I'm going to say cheerio to you all now. I've got some very important snoozing and tennis listening to do. Have fun in your gardens this month. Hopefully we'll all get a little bit of rain soon. And then when we next catch up, we'll all be talking about the magnificent jungles we have. Until then, take care everyone.